This is day 5 of David's preliminary hearing in 5 minutes, and we now have a ruling. The judge has found that there is sufficient probable cause to proceed and ordered David to stand trial. Let's get into it. Prosecutors began with messages from April 22, 2025, the night before they believe Celeste was killed. Celeste confronted David about another woman. She wrote, "And you really saying you'd end your friendship just to be friends with her over me is disturbing and disgusting to me on a deeper level, David." David responded, "What did I say I'd end my friendship with you for her?" I'm assuming he meant, when did I say? According to testimony, the argument escalated from there. Celeste allegedly threatened to expose the relationship, saying she would end his career and his life and leak information about them. Prosecutors argue those messages help establish a possible motive. The defense argues they were emotional messages exchanged during another argument in an already unstable relationship. Detective Corey Farrell, still don't know how to pronounce that, returned to the stand and walked the court through what prosecutors say happened next. On April 23rd, David ordered an Uber to bring Celeste from the Lake Elsinore area to his home in the Hollywood Hills. The defense emphasized that Celeste had repeatedly asked to visit him and that David initially said he was busy before eventually agreeing. The defense also pointed to a message in which David asked whether she wanted In-N-Out, arguing that it sounded like he was planning dinner, not a murder. At approximately 10:01 p.m., Celeste texted David, "Girly Pop, I'm almost there, open your door if you are home." David replied, "Got you." Then at approximately 10:10 p.m., he sent, "Gate open, door unlocked." According to prosecutors, that was the last point at which Celeste was actively communicating. She never sent another known message after that. Prosecutors argued those texts place her at David's property just before she went silent. The prosecution's theory is that Celeste entered the property shortly after those messages and was killed there, but the defense attacked that theory directly. No surveillance video shows Celeste entering the house, no witness testified that they saw her enter, and no footage definitively established that David was inside the home during the alleged killing window. The defense argued that the prosecution's timeline may be suspicious, but it still relies heavily on inference. Roughly 20 minutes after telling Celeste the gate was open and the door was unlocked, David began sending her messages. He wrote, "Where you at?" Then, "Hello?" Then, "Bro, Celeste." And later, "Where are you, please?" Celeste never responded. Prosecutors argue those messages were staged to make it appear that she never arrived. The defense argues the opposite, that the messages suggest David genuinely did not know where she was. Prosecutors then introduced cell phone and Tesla location evidence. According to testimony, at approximately 11:30 p.m., David's phone and Tesla began traveling north towards Santa Barbara County. The vehicle reportedly made stops near Lake Cachuma, and at a charging station in the Santa Ynez area. That matters because Celeste's passport card was later found in that general region. Prosecutors argued the travel pattern supports their theory that evidence connected to Celeste was transported away from David's home. The defense argued that the location data does not prove Celeste was inside the vehicle when she died or who had possession of her belongings. During cross-examination, Detective Farrell acknowledged several limits in the evidence. No eyewitness saw David kill Celeste. No recording captured the killing. Investigators could not determine the exact time of death, and no direct evidence established the exact moment Celeste's remains were placed inside the Tesla where they were eventually found. The defense also emphasized that Celeste had previously represented herself to David as older than she actually was. Prosecutors maintained she was 11 when they began communicating and 13 when the sexual relationship began. The defense also pointed out that members of both families knew the two were spending time together. Their argument was simple. Even if the relationship was inappropriate or illegal, that does not automatically prove murder. The detective was the prosecution's final witness. After testimony concluded, the defense asked the judge to dismiss the charges. They argued that prosecutors had shown suspicion, but not enough direct evidence to prove David intentionally killed Celeste. Prosecutors argued that the evidence has to be viewed together. The argument the night before, Celeste's trip to David's home, her final messages, David's later unanswered texts, the northbound Tesla movement, her passport card being found near that route, her DNA inside the Tesla, and her remains eventually being discovered inside that same vehicle. So now the case moves forward. If I'm not mistaken, the trial date was originally slated for January of 2027. I'm not sure that has changed, and he is to remain in custody until then. As always, I'll continue to monitor for updates, and I'll bring them to you as quickly as I can. Catch you in the next one.